Welcome back to Paydirt Sports Talk right here on ESPN 1450. Brandon Phillips, Jason Stamm, excuse me.
I don't think I've ever heard you butcher my name like that.
Jason.
I usually go with just Stamm Nation. There you go.
Stamm Nation. Make sure you check out stammnation.com. I did check. It still counts towards your Rivals hits, so you can visit both wku.rivals.com
or stammnation.com. Whatever's your preference,
Whatever makes you happy. Now, we have had this theme for about 2 weeks, and we called it, what was the network called?
The WTNN. I mean, because we are, Ocho Cinco has the Ocho Cinco News Network, but he's got nothing on the Willie Taggart News Network.
And it actually has a Twitter page. I don't know if some people know that. It's actually created its own Twitter page, and anytime something relevant is put up about Willie Taggart, it's retweeted. We've talked to Coach Harbaugh. We've talked to Joey Stockton. We've talked to
He Hate Me.
We've talked to all these guys about Willie. And the question that kept coming up is, hey, when are you guys going to talk to Willie? And I said, well, I know Willie doesn't have much going on right now, so that's definitely our fault. But as soon as we get an opportunity, we will. So we want to welcome in special guest to the Willie Taggart News Network, Willie Taggart himself. Coach, we appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Well, good.
Glad to be here.
You look good in the Russell gear, Coach. I got to tell you.
It kind of just fits him, doesn't it?
It does.
He's a natural in it.
It was made.
I like it.
Well, Coach, I know it's been just probably a frantic 2 or 3 weeks since you were named the head coach at WKU. How difficult has it been? Because I've always said if Mama's not happy, nobody's happy. So I know you've got two things working right now. You're trying to get Mama and the kids transitioned to Bowling Green, and at the same time, you're working on a staff, you're working on players, you're working on recruiting. How difficult is it juggling those two things, particularly with the distance so far from California to Bowling Green?
It's I think it's not that hard, long as you prioritize things. I think the wifey at times can make it a little difficult because she wants answers that I don't have at times.
Sure.
And she just want to make sure that this is a smooth move for her and the kids and myself.
Sure.
At the same time, she's excited about getting back here and she's ready to do it. She's like, "You back enjoying all the excitement, and we're back here in California."
Yeah.
So she's excited to get here, and she just want to get that part of it over with.
That's cool. Jason, as the coach's wife, you're kind of like the first lady. So there's a lot of responsibility. Now, So is she prepared, or have you prepared her for the responsibilities that will come with that position?
I've been trying to prepare her for years. That was my plan, is to become a head coach one day, and I wanted her to be prepared for that. And I think she have enough people out there that she knows that can really help her in this process.
Yeah.
She have a lot of contacts. Jackie Harbaugh being one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. That never hurts.
So she'll be fine.
Well, good. Well, I was watching the press conference. I had to be out of town, unfortunately, and I came home and I actually watched it 3 times to get right with Coach Taggart to make up for not being there. Only 3, but I've got it on DVR. And I was sitting there and I was trying to think, and largely because you and I were so far apart in school and on 2 different planes, whereas you were really well known and I was, just decently well known. But I was trying to think, if I was in your shoes, what would it be like? The school that you went to, that you got your start as a coach, and here you are walking to that table, and I know that room was packed. Jason and all his buddies were there, and you've got...
Nah, I wouldn't call them all my buddies, but,
Well, I'm trying to keep it...
Fellow media, there you go.
Fellow media, thank you. And you've got Dr. Ransdale on one side and Dr. Seelig. I mean, how surreal was that, and was that something that you ever envisioned that... I know you thought you'd be a head coach, but did you think you would come back home to be a head coach at WKU?
Like I said before, that was part of my plan. Leaving Western, I wanted to go and better myself from a coaching standpoint, and I was hoping if one day that opportunity came, that I have an opportunity to come back here. Didn't know it will come.
Sure. But
it happened, and I had that opportunity and jumped at it. Like I said, that's something that was planned. I wanted to go and better myself and put myself in a position where if it did happen, that I can come back and be back home.
That's cool.
Willie, you were talking about, you went and when Coach Harbaugh stepped down, you went and interviewed for the job, even though you didn't, you had a pretty good thought you weren't going to get it then. But what did you kind of learn from going to do that? And what did you kind of maybe realize that, hey, this is what I need to do when I come back here whenever to, try it again?
Well, I learned there's a lot more to being a head coach than just coaching football. And
The mayor.
And and like you said, I wasn't ready. But it was a good experience of doing an interview, and know what to expect in the interview. I think a lot of coaches don't know what to expect, and I think a lot of coaches do not get jobs because they don't know what to expect, and they go in there and they're not prepared. So I told myself after leaving there is that opportunity come again, I'm definitely going to be prepared for that, and I did everything within my powers to do that.
It's cool. Well, Coach, I promise you, nobody's listening to this, so you can be honest with us. When you went in for the interview, were you nervous?
No, I wasn't.
Gotcha.
I was very prepared. I was excited. I put it like that. I'm going to go back. Leading up to the week, knowing that I was going to interview, I was excited. I was very prepared. I was ready to go in there and just knock it out. And then we, unfortunately, lost our game against Cal.
Sure.
Big rival. Had a chance to win it there at the end. And so we came up short. So kind of had a little mixed emotion going in. Like, I'm going to interview for a job after a loss like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. But as I got on the plane and I landed in Nashville, started seeing some familiar buildings and got in and saw some familiar face, I was like, I'm back home. There's nothing to be afraid of. So, I felt like I knew everyone in there, and I was like, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
So we all know what you did while you were waiting. You went to Bob Evans. But what was going through your mind while you're sitting there having to wait? I mean, did you feel confident, I guess, at that point, or were you just kind of antsy, having to sit there and wait?
No, I was confident. I was in a win-win situation. I was on a great train at Stanford, and I had an opportunity to come back home. I just looked at it as a win-win situation. I really wanted to be the guy, to come back home and get this train back on the tracks. It was disappointing being away and I couldn't brag on my alma mater, when everybody else was.
Yep.
And some guys want to joke around, and I got a little ticked off, but I wasn't going to get emotionally hijacked.
Yeah.
I had to keep my cool, and but I said that's something I wanted to do.
Coach, we had an opportunity, and I was trying to get the audio clip set up for you, and technical difficulties have failed me. Ross is not here, so that happens sometimes.
That's why, we try to get by in his
We do what
absence.
we can. But we were talking to Coach Jack Harbaugh, and I think it was before the Troy game when you were going to be inducted into the Western Hall of Fame. And what was really interesting is I'd always kind of heard bits and pieces of the story, but we really spent some time, and I said, Coach, start with 1992 and that Board of Regents vote where football just, by one vote holds on here. And take me through the evolution, how we got here, and how Willie was involved. And I'll spare you the details, but basically said, Jim decides to come on and help, and he's going to go to Florida. He says the first name I give him is Willie Taggart. He goes down, he talks to Willie. Willie comes, and the rest is history. My question for you is, what did Jim say to you? What was Jim's recruiting pitch? Because, Jack will tell us, he said, our team wasn't doing well. Our budgets were cut. We didn't have coaches. We were in a really bad spot. And still, Willie Taggart came to Bowling Green. What was it that Jim sold you on that coaching staff and that program to come to Western?
He was genuine. You had an NFL quarterback coming in, talking to you, and he's talking to you just like he was one of your friends.
Yeah.
And I looked at it as, here's a guy that really don't have to do this, and he's doing it for a good cause and doing it for his dad. And he's been flat out honest with me about everything. And being an NFL quarterback, I wasn't expecting that from him, And I'm like, wow, I can't believe this guy's this cool, And I mean, he just stood by his word and everything he said, and everything was the truth. And I say, here's a guy I wouldn't mind being around,
Sure.
A guy that really don't have to do this,
Yeah.
And he's doing it out of his heart, to help his dad. And I believe everything he told me.
That's cool.
And he haven't lied to me to this day.
I was just say that's a friendship that has stayed with you for a long time. But it really, why I asked that question is you were talking about when people would say things to you about your program, WKU, when you were at Stanford. Do you find that Jim takes a lot of ownership in WKU? Because I know he wasn't here all the time, and he was doing things, recruiting, and kind of at a distance. But does he really kind of take ownership in this program?
Oh, yeah. Jim, the whole entire Harbaugh family love Western as if it's their own.
Sure.
When this job came open, Coach Harbaugh told Willie, you got to go get this job, and you got to go get that back on track.
Yeah.
It's not nice to see Western where it is, especially how we built it up. And he was like, you got to go get it, and he was excited for me, and and he wanted me to do that.